word, as
Oh
they
my
say.
gosh.
You know? Here's some good guys, man.
Now, I haven't seen this one
Yeah,
before.
that's,
This is
yeah, I
cool.
haven't had that up. Spinal Tap. God, of course, Christopher Guest.
Now, you knew these guys before they were Tap, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you know Harry Shearer before?
I knew Harry Shearer. He had a radio program, and he happened to be a friend of he liked our group, the Modern Folk Quartet. I have a picture of him wearing a Modern Folk Quartet T-shirt.
Well, I think he and his bandmates in the '90s created the Folksmen, kind of
That's
the,
right.
the faux
Yeah.
folk group,
Yeah.
kind of patterned after you guys and
Yeah.
the Four Preps.
And McKeon here, his son went to high school with my daughter, so I knew him that way. That's often the case, you know, fellow parents, you know. And so this was they were doing a video at a high school, and this is just out the back door, you know, just a momentary thing. What you want to do, you know. A lot of young photographers come up to me and say, "I want to do what you do," you know. And I said, "Well, do you shoot bands?" "Yeah, I go to a club and shoot the band." I said, "Well, what you got to do is meet the band, get to be friends. Say, hey, look, I'll take pictures for free. Let me come to your next rehearsal, because then everyone can shoot them on stage. But if you go to the rehearsal, then you want to get them out the back door." Be in the natural light, and you'll get a group shot that no one in the world will have exactly what that is. I said, "Hey, will you guys just step out the back door a minute?" In the light, and bang, there it was. You know, that's not in the video, and no one else was there. So,
No, and it's full of attitude.
yeah, yes.
Particularly Harry.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he's got the curled lip. It's perfect.
Yeah. Or you get to know the group really well, and then you can hang out and go on a boat ride to Santa Cruz Island on Joe Walsh's sailboat, which we did at one time. Left Santa Barbara, sailed over to Santa Cruz, playing poker all the way, and spent the night over there, and came back the next day.
Now, I see Timothy Schmidt in the lower left, and this
Yeah.
is 1978. So this is kind of when he was had just joined the band, or was about to, or
Yeah, no, was in the band. He'd probably been in it a year or two. I don't know exactly when he joined the band, but I mean, here they are in '72.
Yes.
Before Timothy Schmidt. I mean, he took. I know you don't want to edit this.
that's okay.
Randy Meisner.
Yes.
You know, Randy Meisner left the group, and they needed a funny thing, right? They needed a bass player who sang the highest part in the harmony, and the only guy in the world, really, was Timothy Schmidt, who did exactly that. Played the lowest part and sang the highest part. So that was perfect. He just fit in perfectly.
So both Meisner and Schmidt came from Poco into the Eagles.
That is right too, isn't it? Holy shit. The implications go on and on.
It's incredible.
Here they are in Joshua Tree, 72, early morning. We left the Troubadour at 2 a.m. when the bar closed. Drove the 3 hours out to Joshua Tree, got there at 5, it was still dark. And we climbed this little mountain. It was more like a big hill, small mountain. Climbed up there and got to the top just as the sun came up, and they look a little haggard. We've been up in the Troubadour bar all night. And then we spent the day up there eating peyote buttons and laughing and taking pictures. And then
Great fun.
finally, almost finally, here is Mama Cass's picnic. Mama Cass isn't in the photo, but her daughter Owen is, chewing on my Kodak film can. This was, you know, Mama Cass, the Gertrude Stein of Laurel Canyon, the Earth Mother, was always inviting musicians, young English musicians she'd meet on a TV show that the Mamas and Papas were on. In this case, Cream was playing, first time in the U.S., didn't know anybody. Eric Clapton, very shy, very quiet, and of course she, you know, drifted over to him and said, "Hey, let me introduce you to some friends. Come up to my house tomorrow. We'll have a little barbecue in the backyard," you know. And he came up, And he hardly talked all day long, but he sat there. She also invited some friends. Mickey Dolenz was there, and David Crosby was there. And David Crosby brought his new young protege, Joni Mitchell. He was producing her first album. So no one had heard of her. I mean, her album wasn't out yet. And they were in the middle of producing it, and she sat there. Now, David took great pride in having her, Joni, play some songs, you know, and then people would fall down, you know.
I bet he knew the reaction, and he just loved to see that.
He loved that. So she's sitting there playing her first album. And of course, you know, he was gobsmacked. And he just stared at her fingers the whole time. Because you see the way she's having her finger over the fretboard. She's not playing an A chord or a G chord or a D chord. She's just laying her finger across the fret. She would tune the guitar to a chord and then just put her
like a bar chord.
Yeah, right.
Almost.
And she'd just move her finger up and down the fret, and wherever she put it, the chord would be there.
Richie Havens would do that with his thumb. It was so huge.
Yeah. And the great blues player, had never seen that before. You can see him he spent the whole time, like 45 minutes, you know, or an hour, just kind of staring at her as she played. We were all pretty well mesmerized, you know. And here, Crosby's offering me the joint. Of course, I declined.
Of course. Now, rumor has it he has the best weed ever.
Oh, yeah, always. He was kind of the prince of pot. And people would send him, oh, this is the best weed I ever smoked. Here, I'm sending you a few buds, you know. And I would see him in the recording studio with these little packages of amazing buds that people had sent him because he was the guy.
He'd be like the real smorgasbord.
Yeah. You know, I think there's a couple more right here.
Yes.
That we didn't do. Yes.
This is
the Hard Rock Cafe. Nice big blow up of the Hard Rock Cafe. You know, we found that no one had heard of the Hard Rock Cafe. We were just looking for a bar to get a beer. Someone looked out the windshield of the Volkswagen bus and said, hey, look on the next corner. Hard Rock Cafe. Okay, let's go in there and get some beer. So we did. First we took these pictures, and then I took a picture without them there, just of the building. That was on the back of their album cover. When the album came out, they got a call from England, and a voice said, would you mind if we use that name? We're starting a cafe here in London. We'd like to call it Hard Rock Cafe. And they said, yeah, go ahead. So that was the beginning. It's funny, the beginning of the Hard Rock Cafe, and on the front of the cover was the Morrison Hotel, which is now the name of our 3 galleries in New York, LA, and Maui. So that was, that they figured in, you know, with some seeds for the future. Yeah. And so then here we have Neil Young at his ranch in Northern California. And that's his herd of cattle on the hillside. And I go up there with Gary Burden and spend a weekend, you know, and we'd walk around the farm in the morning, looking at the llamas and the geese and the cows. And this was a little barn that had some guitars in it. So we were in the back of the barn looking at guitars, and I turned around and Neil was just standing out there for a minute looking down the road, and I just took a picture. That's his farm dog, Hart. H-A-R-T-E. Bret Hart, the Western short story writer.
He's so nicely framed in the doorway there.
Right.
And look at on the shed off to the left there. There's a skull up on the wall.
Boyd Elder's skull on the wall. Right, and you might think, wow, how long did it take to set that up? Well, I turned around and went click, and that was it, you know. But then funny, we started out with Joni Mitchell in her backyard playing,
This is a great way to wrap it up here,
yeah.
Henry. Absolutely.
And we'd gone up to Joni's house. Gary and I, she needed publicity pictures, so the office called, go up to Joni's house and take some publicity pictures. As we walked up the steps to the house, she's waiting in the window. Hey guys, good morning. Hi, Joni. And Gary stopped and they talked for about 5 minutes, allowing me to take all these candid shots of her just leaning in the window talking. And we said, well, what are we going to do? You know, well, we'll go up in the back. I'll get my dulcimer and we'll play, and those will be the pictures. But before all that happened, this was the best picture. right here. Our house is a very, very, very fine house.
1970. Now, how long after? Well, this would be like 2 years after the encounter with Eric Clapton and
The
David
picnic,
in
right,
in Cass's yard.
Yeah. Well, of course, her album came out, and then probably another couple of more albums, right? I mean, she was well ensconced by the time we took this picture.
I remember her reading an interview with her where she said, I was moving to LA and somebody told me that the craziest part of LA was Laurel Canyon, so that's where I wanted to move. So that's why I moved there.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Well, Henry, thank you so much for spending a little time with us. And,
Sure, Stephen.
and the stories behind your greatest hits and some of the more obscure photos.
Yes, a few more. There are more, there are more. This is what, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 pictures. But I have close to 1 million pictures, so we could, we could fill a few more rooms like this. But great spending the afternoon with you. Peace and love, Ringo Starr, peace and love.
Talk soon.
Bye-bye.